Hello, medical billing and coding students. My name is Miss Bryden. Today, we're going to be going over how to fill out a CMS 1500 form in Cengage Mindtap. Now, these assignments are extremely picky, so that's why we're going to go through one today, just so you can see what they're looking for. All right. Now, you're going to be going back and forth between the case study and the actual form. I recommend downloading this and having it open on a different screen or having it side by side with your form, just so that it doesn't take up your entire screen. So I'm going to hide that for a second, and we're going to take a look at the actual CMS 1500 form. We're going to start on the top right. This is going to be the address where you're going to mail the insurance claim to. This is to the insurance company, because once we fill this whole form out and we fold it and we shove it in an envelope, this address is going to peek through the envelope window. So they give us an area where we're going to send our claim to. Now, just so you see here that each of these boxes has a little number associated with them. These are all numbered, and we're going to go through these numerically. The top portion of your form here has to do with the patient and their insurance information. The bottom half of this form has to do with the diagnosis and procedure codes and the doctor's information. So we're going to start again on the top right, and we need an address where we're going to be mailing this claim for. So today we're working on SimClaim 2-10. Now, if I show my case study here, we see here that this is from Good Medicine Clinic. Here's your provider, TJ Stitcher. We have the patient's information on the left, and on the right here we have the insurance information. The patient's primary insurance is Medicare. And let's see, they have a secondary insurance of Blue Cross Blue Shield Medigap. They didn't give us the diagnosis codes, and they didn't give us the CPT codes. But down here in the special notes, they give us some information, referring doctor, and then right here, here's the address, 1000 Clinton Street, anywhere New York 12345. I recommend copying and pasting as much as possible. That way you don't run into fat fingers. I transpose my numbers sometimes, I misspell things sometimes, which happens, and that's okay. But with this form, if that happens, it'll mark you off, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. All right, so I'm going to copy just that portion of their address. So Medicare, 1000 Clinton. So I'm going to hide this again, and I'm going to start by typing in Medicare. Now you can tab through these different fields. Now I'm not sure if it's going to mark that off as, I think that they want the full address, but we'll find out. And then it was anywhere, New York, 12345. All right, moving over to box number 1. This little area is for the policy, what type of policy this is. Is this Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, CHAMP VA, group health plan, FECA, Black Lung, or another type of insurance? Now, we already mentioned that it was Medicare, so we're going to go ahead and mark Medicare. Moving to box 1A, this is the insured's ID number. So again, let's look at that case study. And there's Medicare, and then the primary insurance plan ID. Again, I'm going to copy this, hide that, and I'm going to paste that right there. That is their ID number. Now moving on to box 2. This is the patient's name. Now in parentheses, it tells you how they want this placed in this box. They want last name, comma, first name, comma, middle initial. So let's go find that patient's name. his name is John W. Hammerclaw. Hammerclaw, John, comma, W. So we are not going to be adding any punctuation. So no dots, no commas. We're actually for commas on this one because they said that they wanted commas. But like with addresses and things like that, we don't put any commas. So Hammerclaw, John, W. All right, moving over to his date of birth. That is May 30th, 1930. 05/30, 1930. And his gender is male. Now, box 4 is for the insured's name. This you would use if the person that owns the insurance policy is different. Sometimes you'll see that if the spouse has the policy or a parent has the policy, this would be the parent or spouse's name and information. For this gentleman, if I remember correctly, yep, this is his own policy. So we're not going to do anything over here. We're going to leave it all blank. We're going to move over to the patient's address though. And that was 111 Lumber Street. So copy that. Let's see if I can, nope. All right, so paste that. And then come over to the city, which was Anywhere. And then the state, New York. And then 12345-1234. So they always want the full zip code. And that will have a dash in it. So you will use dashes there. And then the phone number for that patient was 101 tab 111-9191. Notice this is not one where I don't put any dashes in here. So moving over, our next box is going to be box number 9. This is other insured's name. Now for this one, let's look at that again. It is same. It's the same policy name. So we're going to type same. We're going to tap through other insured policy or group number. So remember he had Medicaid, I believe, or Medigap. So we're going to copy that. And then there's his policy number. So hide that. So you have to make sure you're in the right box, otherwise you'll have a problem. And then I want to copy that policy number. So I have Medigap, space, and then that policy number. And then on 9B, anytime you see reserved for NUCC use, you're going to leave that blank. So those two are blank, but then we come to D, and that is the insurance plan name or group name. So we're going to show that case study again, and they're looking for this plan ID number. So we're going to copy that and put that in box D. So that is 9. So moving over to box 10, this is used if somebody else may be responsible for this, excuse me. Sorry about that. So this is going to be used if if somebody else might be responsible for this claim. Somebody might be responsible financially for this claim. So you see here employment. So if this was has to do with an accident at your work and you fell down and you hurt yourself and they ultimately are going to be using workers' comp, you would mark that this is yes, that was their problem. If it was an auto accident, or if it was another accident, which might be you were at your neighbor's house and got bit by a dog, or you fell down at the grocery store. Somebody else might be responsible for this bill. Your insurance will pay for it initially, but then after everything is said and done, they may go after this money by suing somebody else. So most of the time, these are going to be marked no. Now we're going to move over to box 11. This is the Insured Policy Group Number, or FECA number. So this has to do with the primary insurance. We already put in the information for the secondary insurance. So the primary insurance is Medicare. We already put the group plan, the insurance plan ID number, but this group number is what they're looking for, and there's nothing there. So we're going to actually type none, N-O-N-E. All right, and we're going to leave the rest of this blank. Just so you know that if there was another insurance plan, typically I would mark yes on this, but for whatever reason, they're not looking for anything to be marked on this box. And anytime you see like NUCC, designated for NUCC, just leave those blank. It was designed for something else, and they might just be saving that space for the next update. All right, moving to box 12. This is for signature, patient or authorized person's signature. You're authorizing release of medical or information necessary to process the claim. So this is when the patient first comes into the office and they're given all those forms to sign. One of those forms is a consent form to treat and to be able to share your information with the insurance company. That is what they're looking for. So you don't actually need to have the patient sign this form. They just need to sign that other form, and you keep that form. So if the insurance company ever comes back and wants to see it, you can pull it up and go, see, here it is. So we're going to just type signature on file, S-I-G-N-A-T-U-R on a file. And the date that that form was originally signed, but for this, we're just going to leave that blank. And then over here on box 13, this is another one of those forms that's given to the patient to sign. This is saying that they authorize the insurance company to pay the doctor. If they don't sign that, then the check that the insurance would send would go to the patient, and then the patient would be responsible for paying the doctor. So most of the time, patients or the person in charge of the patient is going to say, yes, please just deal with my insurance. So we're going to say signature on file for this one. So now we've filled out the top portion. We're going to move on to the bottom half. So box 14, this is the date of current illness, injury, or pregnancy last menstrual period. So this is a date, and then the qualifier is a code that lets the insurance know what this date is. So just grab my notes. For this, the date that this patient was seen, let's pull that up again. They were seen on June 20th. And it didn't give us like a date of an accident. This is a sebaceous cyst on the back. It's not really an accident that happened on that one. So the date of this current illness is June 20th. Why? Now, we're going to let the insurance know that this is a illness and not a last menstrual period by providing a code. That could be two different codes, I believe. So by putting 431, we're telling the insurance that this date is an illness. If this was a pregnancy-related claim and this was a last menstrual period, then you would put 484 there, and that would be what clues the insurance in of what this date has to do with. Box 15 is another date and another qualifier, so if you needed to put another one in there, you could. And then moving on to box 16. Dates patient is unable to work in current occupation. So this is has to do really with workers' comp. If somebody was injured on the job and they can't work in their current position, then you would put those dates there. Box 17 is name of referring provider or other source. So it could be 2 or 3 different kinds of people that could be in here. For us, this patient was referred. So let's see here. Coming down here, I remember seeing it in right here, special notes. Referring physician, Nancy J. Healer, MD. So I'm going to copy that because we're going to need that information. And then her MPI number. Because this patient saw their primary care, Dr. Healer, and Dr. Healer's like, oh, that's a bad, ugly cyst. I don't do those. Here, go to this other doctor, and they'll take care of this for you. So the insurance wants to know that. We're going to put Dr. Healer's information in here, but I'm going to be taking out all the punctuation. So I'm taking out the dots, I'm taking out the commas. So it's just Nancy J. Healer, MD. Now, they want to know who this is to your doctor. Now, we're going to put a qualifier code in here of DN, and that is telling the insurance that this has to do with a referring doctor. This could also be an ordering doctor, which would be DK, or if you were at a teaching hospital and this was a supervising physician, it would be DQ. Most of the time, you're going to be entering DN. Now we need Dr. Healer's MPI number. I'm going to show that case study again and go down to that little lovely field. So I'm going to copy that. And then place that right there. So you can see on this half of the form, you have some areas that are shaded and some that are not shaded. We are going to be staying in the unshaded areas. So just know that those shaded areas are for more advanced claims. All right, moving over to box 18, hospitalization dates related to the current service. So if the patient was in the hospital and they were doing surgery, you would put the hospitalization to the date that they were admitted and the date that they were discharged. Now, box 19 is one that I see in the real world quite a bit. I've used this field quite a bit. If you're using an unlisted code, or if you're using a modifier, or if you're attaching medical records, this is just like a free-form place where you can tell the insurance that information. But it's a very short field, so you have to be very brief with your description. For this one, we're going to leave it blank. Box 20, outside lab. You guys are always going to be marking this as no. What this little field is for is if the doctor had purchased the lab service for the patient. Doctors don't do this much anymore. I've never seen anything marked other than no. All right, moving to box 21. This is where your diagnosis codes live. You can see here that it's going to start right here with ICD indicator. We're going to always put a 0 here. Back in the day, when we were switching from ICD-9 codes to ICD-10 codes, this little field, you would put a 9 there if you were dealing with ICD-9 codes, or a 0 if you're dealing with ICD-10. Because all we're dealing with now is ICD-10, it's always going to be a 0. Now you can see here that we have 12 different letters of the alphabet, A through L. You can have up to 12 different diagnosis codes per claim form. It doesn't mean that every single diagnosis code is going to be attached to a procedure. You're building a story for the insurance company. For our patient, like I said, they didn't really give us the diagnosis here, but if we went down and we read the operative note, you can see here that they had a infected sebaceous cyst on the back, and an infected sebaceous cyst, again, and this one was on the neck. So you would actually look up that diagnosis code. And just so you know, that is going to be L72.3. Okay, so L72.3, and then moving on to box 22. 22 is for resubmission. So if you had originally submitted this claim and you had, after you submitted it, you saw there was an error on it or it got paid incorrectly and you have to resend it to the insurance company, you would put a code here telling the insurance why it was that you were resubmitting it to them, and then the original reference number so that they know what it had to do with. Box 23 is important in the real world. This is your prior authorization number. Most insurances require an authorization number, and this is where you're going to put that number. If you don't have that number there, your claim will be denied. So you always want to kind of look for that and make sure that this little field is always filled in. For our case, we're not dealing with that. All right, now moving down to box 24. 24 has 6 different lines with it, and it has the alphabet going A through J. These are your procedure. This is where your CPT codes are and everything that has to do with those. So we're going to start over on the left side, and this is going to be dates of service. So you see here we have month, 06, 20, and then Y. And then you don't have to put another date if it's the same date. We're going to come here to place of service. Now this, I just want to look at that again. This was at the doctor's office. Yeah, it was a Good Medicine Clinic. So your place of service, the codes, you can find these in the front of your CPT book. On the first page, there's a bunch of different codes. We have everything from pharmacy. Number 11 is for the office. That's what we're going to be using here. If it was at the hospital, it could be 21 for inpatient hospital, 22 for outpatient hospital. Those are going to be your heavy hitters there. This EMG would be if it was an emergent situation. Most of the time, you just leave that alone. Now, here's where we have our first CPT code. So again, we had 2 cases done here. And we're always going to put these in order of money, the highest money item first. The reason for that is if the insurance company is going to deny something and they're only going to pay one CPT code, I want them to pay for the highest price thing. So that first thing I want them to pay for. So we're going to code these. We have our excision of our 2.5 cyst of the neck, which was $360. Now that code is 11423. And then you have room here for 4 different modifiers. This is for this one CPT code. So if it was like left or right or bilateral or complicated case or 2 surgeons, whatever it may be, you can have 4 different modifiers there. For this gentleman, there's no modifiers on the first one. Now your diagnosis pointer, this is where students get lost quite a bit. This is telling the insurance company that the reason you did this CPT code is for which one of these diagnosis codes. Remember, you have up to 12 of them, and they all have a letter of the alphabet right next to it. So you fill all these suckers in, and then this CPT code, you're telling the insurance which one of these you did it for. So we only have 1 on this one, so it's pretty easy. So it was only number A. But if you had one, all of these filled out, and the reason they did this surgery was for A, B, and D, you would type A, B, D. Just no spaces, no dots. Again, for this gentleman, he's only here for one reason. Now moving back over there, we put our charge in. Remember, this was $360. Now, this box G is for days or units. This is how many of this particular surgery are you billing for. Most of the time, this is one. You only are billing one of these surgeries. This is for early periodic screening. You're going to leave that alone. And then this one you'll use is your MPI number for the doctor. So remember, this is, the clinic is billing for this service, but the doctor is TJ Stitcher, and his MPI is right there. It's 890. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. If the doctor was the one who is billing for this, then you wouldn't have to fill this out. But because the clinic is billing for this, we're going to fill this out. All right, moving down to our second line item. Remember, he had 2 cysts that he was taking out on the same day and same place. And then our second procedure code was 11406. Now this one does get a modifier because they did 2 different excisions of 2 different kinds of cysts. And this one is 51, which is multiple procedures because they did 2 different procedures. So we're putting a 51 modifier in there. And we're going to go over to our diagnosis pointer of A. And then this one was for $300. We billed 1 unit. And we are putting that MPI for Dr. Stitcher in there again. And that's all we have as far as procedures to bill for. So we're going to come on down to box 25, the federal tax ID number, because the feds always want to know where money is moving from. So we're going to show our case study again. So we're looking for the employee identifier. All right, so there's our EIN number right there. Copy that. We're going to paste that in there, and we're going to take out that dash because this tax ID number doesn't get any dashes. And then we're going to let the insurance know that that was indeed an EIN, not Dr. Stitcher's personal Social Security number. Now your account number, that was on here. That was the patient medical record number. Patient number is 2-10. 2-10. Now accepts assignment, and it says for government claims CBAC. So this is just saying that we're going to accept what Medicare's rates are. So we're saying yes. And now moving on to the next one. 28 is your total charges. We're going to add up all of these line items. So that gives us $660.00. And then 29 is if the patient paid anything or another insurance company paid something, that would be marked in there, but we're going to leave that alone. Again, reserved for nuke use, we leave alone. So now we're moving down to box 31. This is the signature of the physician or supplier, including degrees or credentials. So this is Dr. TJ Stitcher, MD. This needs to be a form that is on file with the contracts. This automatically gets filled out, so you don't really have to worry about this. If you were printing this off and it didn't have anything there, you are not allowed to use a stamp. This actually has to be a signature. So we're going to tab over, and this is going to be the date, MMDDYYYY. That's how they want those filled out. And then we're going to move over to box 32, which is the service facility. So this is where the surgery took place. There are a lot of different doctors' offices that use billing companies, or the doctors travel all over all over the state or all over your city. This is where that service took place. So for this one, this took place at Good Medicine Clinic, and then there's their address, 1 Provider Street. So I'm going to copy that. Now this is going to be on 3 different lines. So you're going to have the name of the clinic or the place, and then the address, the street address, and then the city, state, and zip, and no punctuation again. Now, box A is a box that I see you guys miss often. This is the MPI number for this clinic. So come back over here. So we have Good Medicine Clinic. Here's the clinic's MPI number. And see how it's different from the provider's MPI number. So hide that and paste that there. Now we're moving over to box 33. This is where that check is going to get mailed to. Now, and they want the phone number. So if there's a question on it, I have had some insurance company call me, which is very helpful. So you do want to give them a phone number. So that is on your case number up here, 101-111-2222. And then the billing provider is the same for this gentleman. So we're going to just copy all of that and paste that there. And then copy that and paste that there. And it looks like I had some spaces in there. So I want to make sure I take those out because I don't want to give them any reason to ding my claim. All right, so there you go. So let's submit it and see if it works. So here's the problem. I got a 90%. Not really a problem. It's a good grade. It's an A, right? So if I wanted to review this, I can click on any of these little blue check marks and it'll tell me what I did wrong. So you can see here, Medicare, they wanted 1000 Clinton Street anywhere. Oh, see, I put New York and it was supposed to be US. So that's why that got dinged out. And then this one, what was wrong with this one? Oh, because they had Medicare and the secondary insurance. So I needed to mark both of them. All right, and then moving on down, did I have any other errors? Yep, I did. So there, no entry required. So did I put this in the wrong box? No. 3. Oh, I left off a number. So you can see here that because I left off a 1, it dinged me there and it dinged me there because I copied it. All right, so that is how you fill out your forms and how you check it. So if I wanted to take this again, I can go out and then just go back in and take it again. I would recommend doing screenshots of this, maybe taking a picture with your camera so you can see what each little box is supposed to be and what error that you got so you can make those corrections. So next time you submit it, you get 100%. If you have any questions, contact me. You can call me or send me an email and I'll be happy to respond and answer any questions that you have. Other than that, you guys have a good day and good luck with filling out these forms. Bye-bye.